Hi guys, Ruggero here from One Foot in the Door. So this is the second half of my interview to Niall Bishop, okay? So if you missed the first half, there it is, go check it out. So you mentioned hashtag honesty a couple of times. So guys, for you who don't know, hashtag honesty is a new series that Niall and I have written and we are halfway through shooting. So keep an eye out, that will come out very soon. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what can you tell the audience what was a bit our process that we used for hashtag honesty? Were there any particular moments during rehearsal or during shooting that you found useful or interesting, or when something happened? Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I'd say our process for hashtag honesty was make it up as we went along. I guess, and maybe just to pick up on what you said in the previous point, I know a lot of actors around London that are involved in those communities. I know a couple of actors who are on practice self-tape 1,000. They've done 1,000 of these. They've been doing it for years, and they've been doing it every day for years. So just to finish up on that point that you were saying, that muscle is really, really important. And I think young actors in particular can kind of get lost a little in the mystique of acting. And as you said, the inward looking kind of obsessive culture that's kind of out there now, that's attached to some acting methods, whether it is method or whatever your bag is. That there's a lot of stories there that kind of get people's attention, and it's kind of like, I need to do what Christian Bale does, or Daniel Day does, or Sally Field does, and it's kind of like, that's okay, they're in the game 20 years, they're doing it a long time. But if you're starting out, the last thing you need to be thinking about is yourself. You need to be available and to be open, and the only way you can do that is put yourself on screen. If you were a plumber, a carpenter, a violinist, if you were learning a language, it's no different. Going back to hashtag honesty, you and I have spoken about this. The only way you learn really is by doing. And I would say for me, hashtag honesty came out of an idea that we did some sketches before, and so we tried some comedy ideas that weren't quite working. And we came up with this idea, and that came at a time when there wasn't really a lot happening for me in my career in terms of parts wise. It was just, an acting career, any creative career, you've feasts or famine. My agent in Dublin, Ronnie McCann, would always say it's a feast or a famine in this game. And I was going through a bit of a famine, and I'm thankful for that now, because you and I were talking, and we were saying there has to be something else in this idea. And I guess the biggest lesson that I take away from it, Ruggero, is that I've learned so much just by the fact of trying to do a show, to come up with an idea, to get a structure for an idea. Who are these protagonists? What is their journey? What are they trying to get over? Where's the conflict? How do we land it? I don't know, hashtag honesty is what, 80, 90 pages of dialogue now?
More or less, yeah.
The script is what, version 16, 17? I mean, if we send out another version, I think the cast are going to down tools. They're going to be like, oh, fuck, another version. So I suppose what I've learned is you learn by doing. Second, it's a team game. We sat down with a friend of ours, Paul, who we worked in on a couple of ideas before. He's here, how can I help? His experience was invaluable in terms of navigating those, like, how do we get a budget together? How do we get a shooting schedule together? How do we try and save money? How do we try and, raise money? And then slowly but surely we built up a team to the point where, we have an incredible cast. The ensemble we have is incredible. You and I were looking at some of the rough, my own performance aside, which is hard for me to look through. I'm looking through it like that, but even the rough stuff, we're going, God, we think we've something really good here. And I guess there's the process of doing that as a producer and learning by doing, learning all those things. And then the flip side for that for me on the acting side, because you're talking about acting, is, right, you and I are on set. We've planned this for 2.5 years. We've been organizing this, and we're actually there. We're there to press record. We've got Chris. We've got 4 or 5 people around. We've got Darren making sure everyone's safe on the COVID side of thing. We've got Paul, Amy, Ian on the phones if they need us. And we're like, I actually have to do some acting now. And then you and I are no longer co-creators. You're the director, and I'm the actor, and I have to put my faith in you, and I have to put my trust in you, and I have to come back to what I said at the start is keeping it simple and staying out of my head. I mean, I remember on one of the scenes we did with Miranda Heath, who's an amazing actor, which is a long walking scene, and I was really struggling with it, probably because the week up to that was really stressful. I mean, like stressful, not in a working as a nurse in a casualty during COVID stressful, but just kind of, you know, we were there, we need to get this done. And, you know, you and I worked on extras. I can't remember what it was. Can you remember what it was? We worked on, was it the improvisation where you said, look, just improvise rather than sticking to the lines, just like improvise this scene all the way to the end. Was that what we did?
Yeah, so it was at the end of the rehearsal process. What I asked you guys to do after we worked section by section, after we've done all the planning and the blocking and all the rest, I said to you and Miranda, just go by yourselves, so not with me, not with anybody else, improvise the whole scene. So, and make it longer, make each section last longer, really explore what happens as an improvisation, don't use the lines. And I remember you had a bit of a resistance to doing that at first.
Total resistance. It wasn't a bit of resistance. I was there, what the fuck, like, you know.
So what did you find when after doing that? Was that useful?
I suppose I found, yeah, no, it totally was. I mean, there was two things that struck me because, as I said, you and I have seen some of the early, I don't know what the industry talks, they call them rushes, but we've seen some of the early drafts of the footage, you know, without the editing and the sound.
Yeah, the raw footage, yeah.
Yeah, the raw footage, exactly. So I guess in that particular experience, what I found, Ruggero, was like there's many ways in. And I was kind of becoming a little bit cerebral in that moment and was feeling a little blocked. And I was kind of worried. I was kind of like, fuck, Miranda's going to think I'm just not, you know, I'm up to this. The crew are around, you know, everybody to work with, you like, you feel, fuck, I'm letting these guys down. And you know, you're kind of like, you can get into your head and you're just getting in your own way. And I think what was really good about that is you just kind of freed me up to realize, actually, we just have to work through this scene. I know what's happening. Miranda knows what's happening. Everybody knows what's happening. And it just made me think about the scene in a much freer way. So it just freed me up. So it was a great exercise. I'd say the other thing that I learned as well was in that same scene with Miranda, like we're really bigging this one up, but in that same scene with Miranda, I have to get really angry at one point. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I was afraid of being too big. And again, because like I just wasn't really feeling it that night. It was cold, and that happens sometimes with the best of intentions. You're like, fuck, I'm kind of struggling a little bit here. And again, you
were wearing like only a little shirt.
Yeah.
And it was cold.
Look,
and we were all with the coats on.
We can, yeah. It was, you know, it's a tough life. But like I guess we were, you know, you can make all the excuses you want, but the bottom line is I was just coming up against a bit of a brick wall. But again, what I learned from that is what I felt was too big in my head wasn't big enough for screen. And that's one of the things that I've learned. And so I have to remind myself all the time, because you have to switch into a mindset when you're doing this kind of work, is like what might appear to me as, you know, that doesn't feel real or authentic in my mind in the moment, kind of going, oh, fuck, that feels a bit hammy. You're looking at it and going, like, he's got way more space to jump with that. And actually, the scene needs him to jump with it. Otherwise, it's not going to register. Do you remember we had that conversation?
Absolutely. And that's, I think, a very important point, because there's so many actors who are convinced that, oh, you just need to do less. Camera smaller. Like, you need to be nuanced and truthful and whatever. And it's like, no, sometimes you can and you have to be bigger. Be as big a stage, even bigger sometimes. Obviously, there's specific moments. You can't do it all the time, and it needs to be a game of balancing maybe the big moment with then something really small and really intimate, which is actually what the scene is exactly about.
It's a great book. For anybody starting out, I found it hugely useful, and I only read it again there last year, was Secrets of Screen Acting by Patrick Tucker. Absolutely. And he talks about, I don't know if you've ever come across that, Ruggero.
I'm the one who recommended it to you years ago.
Well, you did, that's right, yeah, you totally did, yeah, that's it. You should be getting commission on this, right, if anybody buys this off Amazon. But like, what I found, what I loved in that book is the point that you make exactly, is what feels unnatural to the actor in front of the screen doesn't necessarily read as that on the screen. And that point that you made, is really important, that whatever the shot is, and that's the nature of the medium. It sometimes requires something that might feel a little hammy, or might feel a little big, or might feel a little kind of, I'm kind of being performative here. But if there's a reaction shot that's needed, like I always love the saying, you know, act for show, react for dough. If there's a reaction shot that's needed, you might think, you know, I'm doing all these faces, but it gives the editor room just to cut back to you, to give the viewer a little bit of a realization that there's a two-way, really important conversation going on here. So understanding that is all part of the game. And again, you only learn that by doing and learn it in the moment. And so for me, yeah, I was grateful that you were in the driving seat that night, not me.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, and I'm very excited to share it with everybody that's watching, because I think we have some really strong stuff in that. So, look, just to close now, what kind of suggestion would you have for someone who is starting out, either beginning of the training, or even more so when people are actually getting into the industry and they want to make a living as an actor? What would you recommend to them?
Fuck, I don't know. I mean, I'm in no position really to be advising anyone, because, like, you know, there's a lot of truisms about acting as an industry, as there is about anything, and actors per se. I would say it's open to everyone. For me, bottom line, acting is the best job in the world. Best job in the world. I don't care what anyone says. To me, it's the best job in the world. And to me, it's one of the most important jobs in the world. Like, we all know it's not, you know, there's this thing that's not saving lives, but no matter what job you do compared to someone who's saving lives, that doesn't matter. But however, being of service to a story and telling a story and being part of this narrative, I think has huge value. And so from that point of view, I think it's a really important job, and I think it's the best job in the world. And I've done a lot of jobs. It's the best job in the world. But it's really competitive, and a lot of people want to do it. So if you want to do it for a living or as a career, if there's such a thing, it can be a dangerous way to think about it in a way. You can fall into some traps with that. But if you do want to pursue it professionally, I would say throw yourself in. I would say don't do what I did and quit your job, because, you know, you don't have to do that. There are online courses, and like there's so much available now that wasn't when I was starting out, when I was a young lad, you know, in 2014. Like, so I would say there's loads of stuff that you can dip your toe in. You can begin to learn, like, apart from the stuff that you and I have worked on together. And I know that, you know, I learned a lot from working with you and doing the first couple of show reels that I did. But, you know, the Monobox set up by Joni Ola and Polly Bennett is an incredible resource for anybody starting out in terms of really affordable training with people who are out there, like you said, living it, doing it, building a career, and then just sending the lift back down and sharing some of their experiences. An absolute great resource I couldn't recommend highly enough for anyone. I've got huge value and made an incredible amount of real friendships out of that. As well as that, Mixing Networks, which I mentioned, you know, Mick, who does an incredible job, who was an actor, you know, does film in his own right. Again, I've learned a huge amount from him. And also, you know, you and I have worked together on the screen acting courses that you did, Ruggero, which I'm not just saying it like we work together, but, you know, I've got a huge amount from those as well. So learning from as many people as you can who understand and have some knowledge to add, I couldn't recommend that highly enough as well. But I would say throw yourself in, keep it simple. Find your tribe, whether that's through the Monobox or that's through Mixing Networks. It can be a really lonely job, but it doesn't have to be. As you're learning, you can build relationships and build networks. And finally, I would say find your tribe is important because you learn by doing. Acting or creating a story or making anything, if it's a pub or a theatre upstairs, or a theatre show, too much coffee upstairs in a pub, or like what we're trying to do, #honesty, it's a team effort, it's a team game. And I would say find your tribe and just start making stuff. Everybody's got a phone now, you can just turn it around, flip it, press record, and put yourself on screen. And just keep doing it. You know, you can just tip away at it and get yourself an agent and then just throw yourself in it. But it's an incredible journey. I think it's a great way to understand yourself, to understand the world around you. And for me, best job in the world.
Thank you very much, Niall, and thank you guys for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful. As always, please do let me know in the comments. I really want to hear what you think. And if you have any questions for my next interviewees, if you enjoyed this format and if you want me to make more, as I said, this first interview was a pilot. So I want to see how it's received. So guys, do let me know, please, all right? And as always, like, share, and subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. Especially share with your friends on your social media or whatever. That would be great, all right? Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.